Okay, welcome to a Satsang with Cate. Today we're going to be starting to read through chapter 27 of A Course in Miracles. So this is called The Healing of the Dream. And so we've been talking about healing over the last few weeks. We want to heal our mind. We want to have a happy dream. So let's just get quiet for a few minutes. Let's just think. Let's just quieten our mind, because we need to just still our mind when we start these teachings. So give you a few minutes just to still mind. So what's going to happen today is I was guided to this section. So we'll do over a number of weeks, we'll read through this chapter. It's a really beautiful chapter, The Healing of the Dream. And I haven't been given any meditation to do at the end as yet, but I do probably come through as I read through. But I've sort of haven't, a lot of the time I'm not guided to read it in detail before I present it. He just sort of gets me to skim my eyes over it, and certain things will jump out, certain sentences, phrases, or words. And then he'll sort of lead me into something that might be helpful. So I think as we go along, we're going to contemplate particular teachings in this section, and they'll be presented over and over in different ways. So it might be a little bit different this week. I might just get you to quieten down and just think about a certain aspect of this teaching. So let's get on with that. And to anyone listening to this recording, you are welcome. I love you. I bless you. I honour you. And we're all joined in this teaching. Let us say this little prayer to start with. It's sort of like a prayer of willingness. Like, as we start to read this section, we just become willing to be open, willing to be wrong about our current perception, willing to be wrong about our brother, the way we're perceiving him, willing to surrender our views, willing to just be open for the correction, the miracle, the change of perception. So let's just sort of get this sort of devotion or willingness to be a learner. We don't have to be we're students. We're being taught. We don't have to get upset with ourselves if we're not currently doing what he's asking us to do. But he's asking us to change so we can do this, because he knows he's telling us it's going to bring this beautiful peace of mind. So the desire is, I want peace. I really, really, really want peace of mind. I want this experience of God's love. I want to feel it. So I'm coming to these teachings today to say, I'm open, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to practice. I'm probably going to muck up a few times, but I'm willing to just keep practicing until I get there. And why am I willing to practice? Well, I have to undo an egoic mind. And even Jesus had to undo that. He was a character in the dream with us. He's just a symbol now of someone that's coming, of seemingly a body, but he's telling us that we can do this too. And it is a way home to God, but God is just this infinite love without an opposite. And we can experience this gorgeous love in our mind and have no ego at all. So the motivation for doing this, it might be nice to read it and think, oh yes, that sounds very nice, and contemplate these teachings, but until we do it, it doesn't have any effect. The reason why we're going to put it into practice in our daily lives is because we want the peace of God. That has to be our motivation, peace. The goal of the course is peace. So that's how we start off each week. We start off with setting our mind with the right intention and devotion to say, I'm not going to be perfect at this, but I'm going to practice it the best I can. And as I practice it, I'll get better and better at applying it. Okay, so the picture of the crucifixion. The wish to be unfairly treated is a compromise attempt that would combine attack and innocence. Now, I'm going to talk about that sentence for a little while, because we need to understand, this is a beautiful teaching, we need to understand what this means. Now, I want you to think back to a recent event when you felt unfairly treated. And I want you to think about how you felt attacked. Now, the word attack can sometimes we can think of attack as something really violent, like violence between bodies. But unfairly treated can be the most subtlest of things. This word attack is given another meaning. And what he's trying to say is, any time you feel some sort of injustice, something unfair, it might be anything. And believe me, your whole life, all your day, you're going to feel unfairly treated by everything, because that's what the ego finds, right? So it goes out and finds it. So he says the wish to be unfairly treated. You wouldn't think that you would wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to spend my day wishing to be unfairly treated all day. But when we join the ego, we are desiring. Remember, he says we're attracted to guilt. We're attracted to it. We're attracted to the idea that someone else is guilty. We really are. That's part of looking at the ego. We have to see how we really, really desire someone else to be the bad guy. And then from that, we're going to feel unfairly treated. And then we're going to say that is, so whatever the unfair treatment is an attack. That's the thing. That's the word attack that he's using here. That's how he wants us to look at it. And then the combination of attack and innocence is that I am innocent. That's what the ego says. The ego puffs us up and says, look how innocent I am. I wouldn't do that. Yet we are doing it. We're just glossing over that we're not. We're forgetting, but we are doing it because we're in the ego. So throughout this, it might take us a long time to get through this chapter, because we're going to go in depth in it. It's no use just reading it, skimming it, closing up the book and leaving, because you have to look at all this stuff in detail. So we have to see the desire, the wish to be unfairly treated, right? We do. You might say, oh, I don't think I do, but we do. He's going to show us. We're not bad for that because we're listening to the ego. He's going to show us all this leads to choosing against the ego. So a wish to be unfairly treated is a compromise attempt that would combine attack and innocence. So where we are, the ego says, I'm unfairly treated. It finds it wants to constantly get you to look outside yourself to see where you're being unfairly treated. And then the ego says, I'm attacked. I need to attack. I might attack by saying something, or I might attack by closing off my love towards that person. And then the ego says, I'm innocent, they're guilty. Now, it doesn't say all those words that way. It hints at it. That's why we have to look at it. That's why we need a lot of silence and quietness in our lives. We have to give a lot of willingness to have that quiet time so we can look at this. And we've got this quiet time today as we join. Who can combine the wholly incompatible and make a unity of what can never join? Walk you the gentle way, and you will fear no evil and no shadows in the night. But place no terror symbols on your path, or you will weave a crown of thorns from which your brother and yourself will not escape. So if you think about a recent event where you felt unfairly treated, and really start to think that we are weaving a crown of thorns for this brother. We would really love to put a crown of thorns on their head and ram the thorns into their head and hope it bleeds, because that's what we feel. We have so much hidden rage and hatred for our brother. It's all hidden, and it's all pushed down and aside in our mind so that we can constantly puff ourselves up as innocent and justify this innocence. And this is all suffering. You cannot crucify yourself alone. And if you are unfairly treated, he must suffer the unfairness that you see. You cannot sacrifice yourself alone, for sacrifice is total. If it could occur at all, it would entail the whole of God's creation and the Father with the sacrifice of his beloved Son. So what he's saying here is that we are like, we're in a dream world, and it's a collective ego, but we all seem to have a little part of the ego mind that has to be healed. That's one part of the ladder, seeing it, but that changes as well. When we feel unfairly treated, we are condemning our brother, but we're condemning ourselves. We don't realise that everything we think about our brother is not going out to him. It's what we're living in. So we're really in this toxic, horrible mind. And you probably notice when When you feel unfairly treated, how you suffer, just notice the suffering. If you've recently had that feeling, just notice how you've suffered. It's really important to notice it, because what happens is you get so caught up in the thoughts of being unfairly treated and trying to justify your innocence and justify their guilt that you really don't have any awareness of the suffering that your mind is in through this. And it is the ego that we forget. So the only way we can be motivated to look at something differently, to have him come and tell us that this isn't, that this is another way to look at this. The only way we'll open our minds up is if we really see how much we're suffering. That's got to dawn in our minds. So, okay. If there's a reason why we're going slowly through this, it might feel uncomfortable, but we need to go slowly. We need to be really mindful of any thoughts of being unfairly treated. That's why Jesus is emphasizing these particular unfairly treated. It's a really good way. You could spend, say, the next week just noticing every time you feel unfairly treated. You could put an emphasis on that. That's the way he showed me on my journey. We would spend time with a particular theme, and then I would see it further down the track, but it was more like I was looking at, so we have to come and see the thoughts are saying I'm unfairly treated. It's not really happening. There's nothing that is there's nothing I can be unfairly treated. His teaching is you can be free for the rest of this lifetime in the happy dream of never, ever feeling unfairly treated. And that is peace. But we need to look at these things and take ownership of them and take responsibility. The only way they get healed is when we bring it back in and say, I need help to look at this differently. So he's going to help us heal this. So Shannon, would you like to read through paragraph 2? Thank you. And I'll comment on it.
Thanks, Cate. In your release from sacrifice is his made manifest and shown to be his own. But every pain you suffer, do you see as proof that he is guilty of attack? Thus would you make yourself to be the sign that he has lost his innocence, and need but look on you to realize that he has been condemned. And what to you has been unfair will come to him in righteousness. The unjust vengeance that you suffer now belongs to him, and when it rests on him, are you set free. Wish not to make yourself a living symbol of his guilt, for you will not escape the death you made for him, but in his innocence you find your own.
So this section is talking about how we are condemning our brother. We need to look at this. We really need to, like I said last week, you might squirm a little bit and like, I don't want to look at this. Let's just get to the happy, loving stuff. But we need to look at what we're doing. So we have to see how we are so attracted to being unfairly treated. Now, if you've had an incident, say in the past week, think about how many times your mind has gone back to that since it happened. Think about your mind's just, the ego's just coming in with those thoughts, looping it around, showing you time and time again, and expanding the story. So have a think about how initially it was just unfairly treated, he's guilty, I'm innocent. And then it gets expanded. Maybe the day later, the story's blown up more in your mind. You're more infuriated. So we have to see what we're doing. There's going to be a moment where all of a sudden we say, oh, I'm in the ego. This is the ego. This is all the ego. This big being unfairly treated. And we notice how we have to say, oh my gosh, I am justifying my innocence and I'm attracted to his guilt. We have to admit this. I'm really, really attracted to how bad and guilty he is. But what we never see is when we're living in this unfairly treated, he's guilty, I'm innocent. What we can't see is we're not at peace. We're agitated, annoyed. We'll get on the phone and call someone, we'll speak to someone about it, or we'll just sit in rage. But one thing, that's it. We're like caught in a dream. We're caught in this full story. And if the person next to us is peaceful and they've seen the same thing, that's to show you that I'm just all off in my own little world, my own little illusion of my brother. So everything here is a projection of my mind. Whatever guilt I'm seeing in my brother is in my mind. Nothing is in the characters. There's no guilt. There's no attack. It's hard to believe that you could see exactly the same thing, that if you think about something you felt unfairly treated, look at it now and think to yourself, I could see this and not experience this as an attack or as feeling unfairly treated. There is a way to look at everything that's happening in this world and not have this experience of being unfairly treated, not have an experience of thinking our brother's guilty. This is the way we have peace, we come to peace, is by changing everything. It's changing our thoughts, because remember, I'm only upset from my thoughts, my beliefs, my ideas. I'm only upset by what I'm believing in that moment. Whenever you consent to suffer pain, to be deprived, unfairly treated, or in need of anything, you but accuse your brother of attack upon God's Son. You hold a picture of your crucifixion before his eyes, that he may see his sins are written in heaven in your blood and death, and go before him, closing off the gate and damning him to hell. Now I want you to contemplate this a little bit. Go back and find something in your past where you have really felt that you need to show someone, your brother, what he's done to you. Now the Holy Spirit showed me that I did that with my dad. I went into a psych ward for 2 weeks, wanting to commit suicide, very extremely depressed. And I wanted my dad to know that I was in there because I wanted him to feel guilty, because my mind was saying, you did this to me. So I wanted to hold a picture of my crucifixion before his eyes. So we have to be honest. This is the only way we get home. We have to see what we're doing. This is the way to freedom. I needed to say, look what you did to me, Dad. You drove me to a psych ward. The ego's fury was directed at my dad. It couldn't. I mean, Jesus says that see, the guilt that was in me, I couldn't see that I was projecting it. At that particular time, when we're holding ourselves as look, you've crucified me, I'm saying to my dad, you did this to me. Look at me. I'm going to show you a broken person so that you can say, you did this to me, you're guilty. So you hold a picture of your crucifixion before his eyes, that he may see his sins are written in heaven in your blood and death. So we need to see what we're doing here. We need to see how we do it in big ways and subtle ways. Even when we stop talking to someone, we're doing this. We're saying, here I am, a crucified. I'm not speaking to you. You're guilty of doing this to me. And I'm shutting down now, not speaking to you. I'm blocking you or whatever else. We have to be extremely honest with what we're doing in this way, or else we can't have it healed. The picture of yourself you offer him, you show yourself and give it all your faith. We are very intent in making sure someone else is guilty. Remember, this is the ego, not our true self, but to transcend the ego, we need to look at what we're doing. The Holy Spirit offers you to give to him a picture of yourself in which there is no pain and no reproach at all. And what was martyred to his guilt becomes the perfect witness to his innocence. So during that 2-year period, the main character that my ego projected onto was my dad. And throughout that, he led me and healed me of my beliefs about myself, about my dad, all these teachings in the course, that it's my projection. He showed me the guilt that I had. And then the next step is to have our guilt healed. So we show our brother that nothing he said or did in the past, his errors, like my errors, I withdrew love from him. I was really nasty for a number of years towards my dad, and he reacted the same. So I could only see his attack. My attacks were justified, right? Because I'm innocent, so I justify my attacks, and he's doing the same thing. He's attacking me and justifying his attacks. That's what the ego does. So for me, I was guided to show him that nothing he did or said would ever affect God's love coming through me. My love, God's love, the same thing that I was moving into, this beautiful love, seeing him as his true self, the innocent, sinless Christ, the only way to heal my mind and help him heal his through the miracle. Now, it's not easy. That's why we need to have motivation to do this, because the ego is like a trickster. he's going to have these ideas that something can't be forgiven, something can't be looked past. So we have to be really vigilant constantly. So Shannon, would you like to read on? Thank you.
Yeah, one thing I would like to share is as I was kind of clearing my mind of things and really just started to bring Jesus everywhere with me, it was really interesting because you kind of get into this, like you're stepping back a little bit and you can kind of watch what the ego is doing. And anytime I didn't like something that was happening, anytime, it was like instantly the ego was looking for who to blame. It was literally like the first thing. And so it's like, all right, whose fault is it? And it's like this scan of like, all right, who can I point the finger at for this? Because it can't be my fault, you know? And so that's the beauty of it, is that through that whole process, I saw the ridiculousness of it. First of all, you know, how can it be one person's innocent, one person's guilty when there's only one? You know? And so in a meditation, he took me through kind of like a scan. I can't describe it really, but it was a scan of the whole ego thought system. And he showed me that if I start from a body, the belief that I'm a body, you know, a body named Shannon, then I'm instantly, automatically against everyone else. You can't have unity, bodies can't join. And, you know, with that idea, I was able to kind of let go of, you know, that whole concept through the suggestion by him to see myself as an idea, the idea of Shannon. And when I'm the idea of Shannon, an idea can't really, it's not really anything that can be against anything else, right? You can't, if I'm an idea and I'm literally a thought in the mind of God, then I can't have anything to be against, you know? So we're stepping back into that whole space of, yeah, like oneness, really. And it was a really helpful experience for me to go through. The power of witness is beyond belief because it brings conviction in its wake. The witness is believed because he points beyond himself to what he represents. A sick and suffering you, but represents your brother's guilt. The witness that you send, lest he forget the injuries he gave, from which you swear he never will escape. This sick and sorry picture you accept, if only it can serve to punish him. The sick and are merciless to everyone, and in contagion do they seek to kill. Death seems an easy price, if they can say, behold me, brother, at your hand I die. For sickness is the witness to his guilt, and death would prove his errors must be sins. Sickness is but a little death, a form of vengeance not yet total, yet it speaks with certainty for what it represents. The bleak and bitter picture you have sent your brother, you have looked upon in grief. And everything that it has shown to him have you believed, because it witnessed to the guilt in him which you perceived and loved.
Thanks, Shannon, for that lovely sharing and reading this section. So this paragraph is really sort of emphasizing what this teaching's talking about. And I would really like you just to quieten down for a few minutes, just sink into silence and really see how you want to show your brother, behold me, brother, at your hand I die. So in sickness, in pain. Think back, just really search your mind for the character that you blame. Or it might be a number of characters. You have to be really honest, and no one needs to know. This is just for your healing of your mind. But we need to be honest. And even if you're currently still justifying an unfairly treatment, just try to sink in and see how you are so loving this idea that someone else is guilty and you're innocent. It's really important to see how much we desire this and love it. It's okay to say that because he wants us to see it. We want to get behind these beliefs. Behold me, brother, at your hand I die. We're showing a crucified body to our brother. This is what you've done to me. Now, our brother might not even know we're sick, might not even know we're in pain or suffering, even the mental anguish. You're like, yeah, that they did it to me. If only they would change. If they could be different, I would be healed. So we're all doing this. No one's doing it any less than anyone else. So there you go, we're all doing it. We're all showing a sick and suffering body to our brother to say, you're doing this to me. At your hand, I'm sick, I'm dying. Now, as you notice the person that you believe it is, see if you can sink a little bit further down to see that you really believe it's God. See if it shifts over the thoughts. You can have a realization. Actually, it's showing me that God hasn't got my back, that God doesn't care. See if you can find that below. Because that's what's really behind it. All our thoughts about God, but they're all jumbled up and projected onto characters. So when we're sick, we're witnessing, we think it's our brother, but deep down in our mind, it's really our belief that there is no God, or God doesn't care, God doesn't help. We have to see these thoughts and beliefs to have them healed. We have to turn within and really look at what we're doing. It is the ego, but sometimes just saying it's the ego is too flippant. We have to really search deep in our mind and notice, now we really hate this brother. And then feel this despair of feeling separate from God. It's all deep in our minds. It really is. If you feel you want to start crying, that's okay. Because it will lead to healing. We need to touch this despair, this feeling that God isn't around us, doesn't love us, because the surface level stuff is this unfair treatment from our brother. But it goes much deeper. Some of you might be hitting this. Now, in the hands, made gentle by his touch, Holy Spirit lays a picture of a different you. It is a picture of a body still, for what you really are cannot be seen nor pictured. Yet this one has not been used for the purpose of attack, and therefore never suffered pain at all. It witnesses to the eternal truth that you cannot be hurt, and points beyond itself to both your innocence and his. Show this unto your brother, who will see that every scar is healed and every tear is wiped away in laughter and in love. And he will look on his forgiveness there, and with healed eyes will look beyond it to the innocence that he beholds in you. Here is the proof that he has never sinned, that nothing which his madness bid him do was ever done or ever had effects of any kind, that no reproach he laid upon his heart was ever justified, and no attack can ever touch him with the poisoned and relentless sting of fear. I might just read on, Shannon. Attest his innocence and not his guilt. Your healing is his comfort and his health, because it proves illusions are not true. It is not his will. It is not will for life, but wish for death that is the motivation for this world. Its only purpose is to prove guilt real. No worldly thought or act or feeling has a motivation other than this. So every single thing in this world, in this egoic world, is always about proving our brother is guilty. That's shocking to think that, isn't it? How every single moment of every day, every mind is trying to find guilt in someone, somewhere, some situation. These are the witnesses that are called forth to be believed and lend conviction to the system they speak for and represent. And each has many voices speaking to your brother and to yourself in different tongues. And yet to both, the message is the same. Adornment of the body seeks to show how lovely are the witnesses for guilt. Concerns about the body demonstrate how frail and vulnerable is your life. How easily destroyed is what you love. Depression speaks of death and vanity of real concern with anything at all. So I just want to go back and focus on this teaching and go through it a little bit again so you can really understand what this teaching is. And this is what the Holy Spirit showed me and Shannon showed her. So as we look and we see how we want to hold our sick and crucified body in front of our brother, not even aware that these thoughts are saying, see, you did this to me. Look how I am. I'm showing you your guilt, that you're guilty. I didn't do this to myself. You did. And Jesus is asking us to see our brother as innocent and to hold a healed body before him and to constantly get the message to our brother that there is not one thing he could say or do that could take the love away, that the miracle of God's love is extended to him in every moment, no matter what he's doing. And he, see, as an ego, you have to attack. You feel attacked and you want to attack back, defending via attack. So when we're coming into this holy relationship, we're giving our brother the message, you cannot hurt me. I am the Son of God. Nothing can harm me. I am invulnerable. I'm living in these teachings, this experience I'm getting more and more into. I am not a body. I am the Christ. I am this innocent love. I am God's love. And so I'm now standing before you, showing you that there's nothing you can do. So what happens in that relationship with our brother is he stops defending and attacking, just washes away, because there's nothing that you're doing. You're responding differently. You're showing here, you're seeing his innocence. You're seeing his true self. And that's how we heal. We help heal our brother. So that's what I started to do with my dad. He's the character in my dream that I was projecting onto. I withdrew my projection. His ego. The ego split into billions. We're using the classroom to take us home. His ego was projecting onto me. We're in an unholy, special relationship. It's based on hatred, mainly. And now, of course, only one of us need to be in our right mind for it to be healed. And his mind gets the healing. So over the last 5 years or so, maybe longer, my dad and I have had this really wonderful relationship. So we laugh. I mean, I think there's a section here about, you start to laugh. There's laughter instead of attack. So there's a lot of laughter. And one thing I came to see was this sense of humour in my dad that I'd never knew was there. It's quite funny. And that humour started coming out. Just this gentle, nice humour. And mine too. So there was a lot of gentle laughter, concern, love. But remember in the manual for teachers where he says, do we have to check with healing, whether healing has occurred? He says not to do that. We have to trust that just doing this, just being with our brother and saying, he's in his ego, like my dad is still quite egoic, upset with this one, worried about that, projecting. I don't have to see the evidence of it. I just know that when I am in a relationship with him, I have to trust that when I'm extending God's love, which is all I extend now, because the ego has been undone, I trust. I don't need to see the evidence, but there is evidence there when I'm with him. And who knows? I don't have to worry. I'm never concerned about it, how it works out. We can't be. We have to just trust it. There is one mind, and as we do our forgiveness work and see our brother's sinlessness, we are healing the one mind, and we're all in that one mind. And he says legions upon legions get healed through that. So we just need to trust. We don't go searching for evidence, because I did ask him. It doesn't seem like my dad has completely healed. He's still, saying things. He just said, don't pay any attention to it. Let it go. And just trust that seeing his innocence. Don't see him as a body. Don't see him as sick. Don't see him as dying. See the whole beautiful self. It's formless. Just got to sink into that. And as I sit with my dad, and he goes through this part of his journey, I just trust that I am standing before him, healed, whole, and happy. If I hadn't have done this work, I'd probably be still in and out of psych wards, right? Trying to get the right medication for my depression and anxiety right. Still there. But now I stand before all my brothers and say, I attest to your guiltlessness. I'm not going to show you a crucified body. I'm going to show you a healed body. He says that. To show your brother that there's nothing he could ever do or say that could harm you in any way. Because why would anyone who says anything that's nasty or mean, well, you're in your wrong mind. And is there a wrong mind? No, there's never been a wrong mind. So that's never happened. So I'm just saying what I'm seeing never happened. It's not happening. I'm just constantly aligning with the love of God, loving him. So I'm feeling, I really feel like this teaching I feel like it's going to go into the next page. It's going to shift into something else, sort of slightly off this really strong teaching here. So I think we might finish the reading at this moment. And I think we might move into doing some meditation where we bless our brother. So we can move into the correction. So we've looked at the error. We need to look at what the ego is doing. We've spent some time doing that. If you can during the week, try to do that again. Sit down and really look Look at your relationships and notice how much unfairly treatment there is around it all. You'll be mind boggled when you see, as Jesus says, the whole world, every thought, act, or feeling has a motivation. Its purpose is to prove guilt real. And when you start to really sink in, you'll start to see, even if your power gets turned off today and you can't use your power, there'll be a thought about being unfairly treated. It's the most subtlest thing. It's so subtle. Or just the weather or something. So many thoughts that just say, and it's never going to say, the person that turned my power off is guilty. But you'll never, very, very rarely will you have the thought someone is guilty. But it's implied. It's always implied. And it's always to do with us as a body, like Shannon said. But that's what he showed me as well. He said it's all about bodies. All of it. Everything to do with the being unfairly treated comes back to you suffering as a body. Anything. You start to look at your thoughts about your day. So we get up in the morning and our eyes see a world. And we're looking out. We can't see it as a dream. They're looking at it as real. But it will eventually become dreamlike as we go deeper into these teachings and deeper. So we have to go within. So that's why the daily lesson turns us within. So this is the teaching today is how do I present myself to my brother? Do I present a sick and painful body to show him that either he is guilty or someone else is guilty? And very, very slowly work to correct that so that I can eventually show up to my brother and say, no, here I am. Nothing you do or say. I'm not going to show you any guilt. And by extending love, I'm constantly saying that. So in the situation with my dad, as I was doing this work, I was going around to see him and practicing this. And there were times where I'd be there and I'd be triggered. And then I'd work with the Holy Spirit to release it and constantly show him that there was no hurt, that his words couldn't touch me. I was invulnerable. I am spirit. Nothing real can be threatened. So this is how all these teachings come to life in a practical way, that you show your brother you cannot be hurt, that he has no guilt, that he is guiltless by you showing up that way and loving him and laughing with him. And that's how we heal each other. So there's a little section, Shannon, I thought you might like to read that little italics, little prayer just at the end of chapter 26. Would you like to read that? Thank you.
Sure. By this do I deny the presence of the Father and the Son, and I would rather know of them than see injustice, which their presence shines away.
if I perceive injustice anywhere, I need but say, by this do I deny the presence of the Father and the Son. And I would rather know of them than see injustices, which their presence shines away. So let's go into a little meditation with that prayer that Jesus gives us. So notice your injustices. Notice where you feel there's an injustice. There might seemingly be a war, a flood, a drought, anything that you look on and feel there's an injustice. And just say, before we say this, because you might feel some resistance to saying this prayer. But let's say that this is the Christ mind, and it is the ultimate authority. These are his teachings. These are the things that he's telling us. If we can move into this, our mind will be healed. So that way can we lose that little bit of resistance. If you feel there is injustice in the world, you feel you're seeing it, you're reading about it, and you feel, how can I deny this injustice when he's giving me this prayer? But he's asking us to deny its reality, because nothing in God could be separate and hurt and suffer. What we are seeing is not real. We're in a dream, we're in an illusion. He's asking us to heal our minds of the belief in a world of separation. And he's telling us, and if Jesus, the way I came to the Course, I said, if it's in the Course and he's telling me to do it, and this is what it is right. It is true and right, and I am wrong. So I'm willing to be wrong about what I think is real, about what I think I'm seeing. If he's written it in his Course, it is real, it is true. He's telling me, if I perceive injustice anywhere, I need but say to myself, by this, looking at this injustice, do I deny the presence of the Father and the Son? Because I have to be thinking that there's something outside of infinite love and myself as I was created. I'm denying God and the creation of me being created as he created me by thinking this is real. I'm denying my true self. And I would rather know of them, the Father, the Son, the true self, than see injustice. So I'd rather know the infinite creator than injustice, rather than keep looking at the injustice and being upset by it, looking away, coming to see that I'd rather know my creator, the love, the infinite love of God, an all-encompassing love, and this which their presence shines away. So it shines the injustices away. It brings me above the battleground as I look down with the Holy Spirit and Jesus, I look at it and he says, this is a dream. Nothing outside God can be real. What you're seeing is not real. It's a whole illusion of a world. And you as a body are not in a body. You've never been a character called your name. Every single part of your life is an illusion, is not real. Nothing exists outside God. A happy dream is coming to know yourself as God created you. And seeing past the forms that you're looking at, looking past them. It's just seeing the infinite love, the Christ self, and knowing that's all that's ever real. And looking around at the devastation, he calls this place a slaughterhouse. Look at the slaughterhouse and know that nothing of God splintered or separated off to come and be separate, to fight amongst itself. So let us come to know that true self. It's the only way to have peace and happiness. I know these teachings can be quite shocking and unsettling, but just bring him anything that you have any concerns about. You can just do this gently, but we need to hear these teachings because they will bring comfort eventually. They might bring fear to start with, but they will bring you comfort. They're the only way to be comforted. Because if nothing real can be threatened, then I am something that can't be threatened. I am love. So I'm just feeling to give you 10 minutes of silence just to let this, you can be in silence or you can let him lead. Just say, Holy Spirit, I give this 10 minutes over to you. Let him lead the way. So it's been about 8 minutes, but I'm just guided to spend the last 10 minutes on a forgiveness practice. So with anyone that you have felt unfairly treated by this week or any time, just let the character come into your mind and let us heal this projection of guilt, this belief in our brother's sin. I'm using a little prayer that Jesus gives us in lesson 95. The lesson is titled, I Am Oneself United with My Creator. That right at the end of it is a lovely little prayer. And it says, to everyone you meet today, be sure to give the promise of today's idea and tell him, you are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honour you because of what I am and what he is, who loves us both as one. So I'll repeat this a number of times. So hold the face in your mind of the person that you believe has treated you unfairly. Just see them in your mind's eye. And as I say this, try to feel this love welling up in you, uniting with your brother. Have the motivation to do this, to bless him with this blessing, to help heal your mind and to bring him in, to give him the blessing of your healed mind. You are one self with me. Hold the picture in your mind of your brother. You are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honour you, my brother, because of what I am and what he is, who loves us both as one. He loves us both as one. Feel yourself joining this brother. Really feel everything dropping away. Just feel you might even like to give him a hug. Tell yourself, I'm going to let go of the past. Just going to join you because we were both created by love. We are not bodies. Now, if there's someone else that you have the same projection onto, anyone that you feel is unfairly treating you, they'll come to your mind. Let us hold in our mind our dear brother's face. This brother is not a body. Everything he represents is what I feel about myself. I'm seeing it in him. So I must heal it where I see it. I am denying myself everything if I hold one brother apart from my love, from God's love. So let us bless this one I meet, this one I'm looking at. You are one self with me, united with our Creator in this self. I honour you, brother, because of what I am and what He is, who loves us both as one. Feel this oneness. Try to feel like it's a oneness enveloping you and your brother. Try to feel there's something surrounding you, enveloping you, moving through you, bringing them in. God's love surrounds you as one. See, feel yourself just merging into this one love. Let everything go. Just be. You might even feel joy arising. I honour you because of what I am and what God is, who loves us both as one. I love you, brother. I love you. I honour you. And I bless you. We are one. Feel your heart opening. Feel the love surrounding you. Let everything go. Let the past go. Don't let it into your mind. Let it all go and join your brother in this true self. I'll just have a few minutes of silence. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And we'll finish this recording now.